Let me begin by saying that most creators who survive for 10 years eventually reach a point where we want to stop.
Yeah.
So I've reached that point just now. The context for non-Indians here is that earlier this year I got cancelled nationally, and that was after like a 10-year-long career. The Indians in the audience know what I'm talking about, but I was literally banned from uploading content for 3 months, and that was my first break I got since college. And that gave me 3 months to reflect, and I had some calls with Balaji as well. So I'm building now for the next 20 years off of the community that I've built for the last 10.
Right.
So I want to begin there.
Great. And I think this is something, just like the history component is important to Network State, the community component is important. And, you know, like you in some ways, I'm actually a reluctant content creator. You know, my first public, did I tell you this?
Go on.
The first public talk I ever gave was at age 33 years old, and it was instantly denounced by the New York Times and Wall Street Journal. And of course, you know, 5 shots couldn't stop me. I took it and smiled. But so the point being that basically I was a very private person for a long time, and only became a quote creator, you know, in almost like a self-defense mode, right?
Yeah.
And then just posted tweets and stuff over time. You had a different kind of path, right? You did the workout thing and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only way to sustain on the internet in the world of content is to constantly reinvent. That's the basic rule when it comes to media careers. So went from creating fitness content initially to, you guys have seen Hitch, the movie with Will Smith, where he coaches men on how to be better dates and have better relationships. Went into that, then eventually went into podcasting. And now we've podcasted with more than 900 people from all over the world, almost every Indian celebrity. And I'm honestly a little bored of it now. So
Basically, you've hit everything there is to do in that sphere. That's right.
Also, you know, the advent of AI in our world has changed user behavior very heavily.
What happened?
Honestly, so AI has reached the masses, especially in India now. And if someone wants to learn something, they open their chat GPT. 2 years ago, they'd search for it on YouTube. So that makes it a huge challenge for YouTubers. And loosely speaking, what's happening in India, and that represents a large mass of the world, is that people want really raw content. So raw conversations like this, and currently I'm just documenting my whole life. How many of you guys have heard of someone called iShowSpeed?
Yeah.
He's one of the biggest content creators in the world, and I highly recommend everyone check him out. He puts up 10-hour-long documentaries on just a normal day in his life, but he does interesting things. That's where content is going, unfortunately.
I mean, he does a 10-hour documentary. I know his channel. He actually did a flying car thing in China and so on and so forth. But a 10-hour documentary on his normal day?
Yeah, I mean, just someone who's high personality, someone who's very watchable, that's what's working right now. So that's what every content creator is trying to like wire themselves into as well. Or you go down the other route where you go highly researched and create some kind of a video essay. But content has become really extreme, and it's become more and more difficult to grow in this world. So I think that, again, this is after 10 years of doing this, the goal is to grow a really strong community like you guys have here, and then build something in the real world off of this community.
I mean, this is sort of where my head has been at, because physical communities are less, or one would think, less fickle, less flaky. You know, the thing is, with the internet, there's 1,000 things that are nearby, and the physical world, there's one person in front of you, you know, for the most part. And so I think we may be I shouldn't say at the end of a cloud cycle. That's not exactly right. But there's like so, you know, actually my friend Noah Smith, who was on stage a little bit, had a good one-liner, which is the internet used to be a refuge from the real world. Now the real world is sort of a break from the internet.
Yes.
Right? And so there's something to that with the rebundling into the physical world. So what's a Ranveer community going to be like? What's a Ranveer village going to be like? If you're thinking about
it's definitely going to be based on like what people know India for. So lots of yoga, lots of meditation.
That's cool.
Yeah, lots of fitness.
Yeah.
Content creation as a career is kind of like a sport. You've got to know your own strengths, and you've got to play to those strengths. That's the only way you survive. So I know that, I mean, there's more to my personality than just yoga and meditation, but because I'm Indian, it's always going to be a part of it.
Sure.
People associate tech and yoga and meditation with Indians.
Sure. Yeah,
So
man,
that's
exactly.
what the village is gonna look
Yeah,
like.
sure. Yeah. Those
Even
are
if
good
I'm a
ones.
much cooler guy than that.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, yoga and meditation are great. And actually, so Ranveer Network State is yoga, meditation, Ranveer Sharp Society, yoga, meditation,
Okay, you know, a bit of
healthy diet. Actually, do you have the traditional Indian diet, or do you have I really want to see someone do a modern, healthy Indian diet that kind of tastes like the Indian diet, but is healthy, and it's not all, idlis and vadas.
Yeah, I think that kind of knowledge is going to make it to the world stage. Bit of a history lesson, but one of the narratives we get in India about Indian history is that over the last 1,000 years, the country was invaded a lot. But before that, we used to be a bit of a knowledge capital for the world. For the rest of Asia as well, it was Indian culture and Chinese culture which really kind of hoarded knowledge, preserved it, and grew from it. I think we're going back there eventually. So I know that the Indian government wants to welcome the whole world to India for spiritual studies, for ancient Indian studies. And we have people like Dr. Andrew Huberman, Brian Johnson, talking about things like yoga. So I think that there's a lot that Indian culture will give the world, but they need a young, cute face to sell. So
Yeah, yeah. So I think the Ranveer Village or the Ranveer Sharp Society would be very interesting, and I think I'd love to come by. I mean, there's actually quite a few now of these private cities type things within India itself, right? Like Andor and a few others. Have you been to any of these? You know what I'm talking about?
it's just starting out.
Just starting, yeah.
Just starting out, but there's this one particular city called Auroville.
Auroville, right? Akshay went there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got expats from all over the world, and that city was originally built with this exact idea. It hasn't sustained because the mistake that
What was the theme? Tell people what the theme was. What was it? It was around yoga and meditation, but didn't sustain? No.
So honestly, the goal was to carry out scientific research on all these spiritual concepts that you read about, like all these mystical concepts. And they have their own currency, and it's a self-sustaining government. So if you're a citizen of Auroville, the government takes care of you. But the place that they made a mistake was that they didn't encourage a culture of startups and of hard work. So the newer generations have everything paid for, and they have nothing to work towards.
How did Auroville become rich enough that the newer generations have something to be paid for?
Sorry?
How did Auroville become, if the newer generations are lazy, perhaps, but how did it actually have enough money if no one was working hard to even make the... Usually there's at least one hardworking person and the third or fourth generation spends it down.
I know that they have really high taxes if you're running your business from Auroville. The quality of life is through the roof. Lots of nature, good weather, very clean, all that. But there's only a few people who've built businesses out of there, and those businesses are taxed very heavily, and they pay for the rest of the community.
I see.
So they want more businesses to come up, but no one's been able to really scale too much.
So I see. Public goods.
I think there's a lot to learn from that. Like if, this dream of actually creating new cities and new countries is the goal, you need to see the places that have failed in the last 100 years
Absolutely.
as well, and why they failed.
Yeah, no, there's a whole graveyard. I mean, the thing is, there's a whole graveyard of failed attempts and actually successful attempts, because you can look at, for example, Oneida in northern New York, or actually really much of the US was basically successful startup sites. Go ahead.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, please say, yeah, of course.
How do you visualize your old age? Like
My
when you're
old age?
really old, and I think this is something a lot of people in the audience are thinking about as well.
Me? My old age?
What do you want your 70s and 80s to be like? When
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't know. I think maybe we'll get Ozempic for aging by then. I mean, it's 30 years, 40 years. Things are moving fast. That's one answer. That's a serious answer, right?
Go on.
The second answer is to hopefully contribute towards getting competitive governance and so on out there. So I think if we can get a diplomatically recognized network state, if we can kind of get some of these concepts like techno-democracy that I've thought out there, then I'll feel like I spiked the football and at least, I handed the torch down, and maybe the next person, my Twitter bio for a long time used to be, and it still kind of is, at least in my head, infinite frontier, immutable money, eternal life. And that can be, that can be understood. I don't know. Okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, sure. So what does that mean? That means like both literally and metaphorically, infinite frontier is like getting to space, getting to Mars, expanding into the galaxy. But it's also like the mathematical frontier, the scientific frontier. Mule money is, obvious like Bitcoin. And then eternal life is actually understanding ourselves, longevity, the cell, and so on and so forth. Because there's clearly something regenerative in us where you have a child, or you have if someone bears a child, then that is young again, right? So clearly there's some regenerative aspect. That's what stem cells are all about. So those are kind of two paths, like, escape velocity, and okay, if I don't make it, then baton handoff. That's what I was kind of thinking about others.
Are you getting happier with time?
The thing is, if you get too happy, you get content, right? I'm not unhappy. You see the big difference in you and me. You love all this like spiritual blah 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 stuff, and which is great. It works.
I ask you these questions because you're by far the most fascinating mind I've had on my show.
Okay, well I appreciate that, and I appreciate you too.
And every time I ask him something about himself, he'll talk about a larger idea about the world.
Well, but that's true, because I don't think that. This whole thing is actually it's meant to be minimum necessary biology. Okay, I just want to kind of one big part of me just wants to. There's this book called The Princeton Companion to Mathematics, right? Which is like just about. There's also the applied math version of it. I love this book. It's such a great book. You can just kind of flip through it, do it. And the significant piece of me just wants to sit and do, just like you want to kind of hang up the cleats and so on and so forth, take a break. I just want to kind of sit and do math. That's what I did for the first 30-some years of life, right? But I am kind of a reluctant, whatever you might call it, right? Scientist, founder, blah, blah, blah. Because I think it has to be done. It's kind of like the someone is wrong on the internet phenomenon. Like you see that there's a wrong statement in a comment thread, and you hope someone else will correct it, and no one is coming to correct it. So you're like, it falls to me, and you just have to go and type the correct. So in like the same, I'm like, okay, who else is going to do competitive governance? Come on, is someone going to do it? Okay, all right, we got it. Once more into the breach. Math, you'll have to wait till tomorrow, right? And that's kind of that's how I feel. So anyway.
That's great. It's just always great hearing your voice, hearing your thoughts. That's why all of us are here.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad I'm entertaining, and but anyway, so keep going. Go. It's your interview if you want. If you want a few more thoughts, yeah.
My thoughts?
Yeah.
About anything.
Yeah, sure. Go
about
ahead.
anything. I'll probably throw the ball back at you, but
okay fine.
What I will share, I think we have about like 5 or 6 minutes left.
Yeah.
I think long-term media career is very similar to VC. Got to work with agility. We get very quick feedback because we got to release so much content. You got to study your comment sections inside out. And effectively, after a point, I think you're paid to just predict where human society is going over the next 1 year. It used to be over the next 3 or 4 year period. Like we were able to predict where things are going over the next 3 or 4 years. But honestly, AI's made it really difficult. And now we're only able to kind of predict what's going to happen over the next 6 months. I think by this time next year, there's going to be some fantastic agentic AI softwares that NAS talking so much about it. I think that's going to become a commonality for every content creator. And I strongly believe that the world of fiction in media, so movies, television shows, OTT, Netflix, etc., that's going to get democratized. I think that students, teenagers are going to be creating films, and I genuinely believe that the film world, all over the world, is going to get shaken up. That's going to be the next shake-up. And that's what we're all working towards. So I know a bunch of content creators in India, and Indian content creators are extremely intelligent. They're just not exposed to the world yet. I think that's also changing. But everyone's working on creating these fiction studios that will eventually compete with Warner Brothers. And
so here's my view on that. I think that, it is both possible, maybe even likely, but it's possible that there's some breakthrough in AI that allows for longer context. And people will argue with me on this all the time, but my view is because they'll post benchmarks and show AI is crushing benchmarks. But my view is that over the last year to 2 years, we've seen a sigmoiding of the model quality. It hasn't been the same leaps and bounds improvement. And there's hedonic adjustments very quickly. You get used to something amazing very quickly, and you take it for granted, right? But I think that I don't know if we're going to get long-form Hollywood movies from a prompt kind of thing. I think they'll feel very generic. There's sort of a necessary complexity that seems to have to come in through the prompt. And that's why the screenwriter was actually, this was the most non-obvious thing I learned, by the way, when doing content. I once had something which I wanted filmed, and I hired a cinematographer and a crew and what have you. And the shots they produced looked amazing. They turned like a normal room into like almost like a spaceship kind of thing with lighting, and their vocabulary around lighting, hard lighting, soft lighting, this, that. They're very, very sophisticated. Bokeh, all these kinds of words I didn't know at the time. And but then I looked at the final cut, and it was all gibberish. And I realized, oh, I can't delegate the screenwriting part. Actually, the part I thought was hard, which was making it look very professional, is actually relatively easy. And the part I thought was easy, which is writing the screenplay, is the part that's actually relatively hard.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that is actually still the bottleneck for a lot of these stories, as opposed to the special effects and so on. Let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, writing is one thing that can never be replaced, because again, great writing always reflects where human society is at. Great cinema, great fiction is always a reflection of what's happening in the world right now.
Paul Graham has this good line, which is writing is thinking. And if you haven't really got a crisp in your head, then you find it hard to write. And it's not about making it sound flowery. Sometimes you can do that with a second pass. But the first pass of just getting the bullets out and organizing the thinking. This is why, I think a very interesting kind of person is a person who writes a long fiction book. They have to, those like mysteries where a detective puts all these faces up on the person who's writing a mystery novel has to do the same thing, because they have to track this very complicated timeline at various levels of resolution, all the way down to the sentence, but up to the 500-word thing, right? That type of thing feels like the type of thing AI doesn't do that well right now, at least.
Yeah, maybe animated AI?
Well, I think the shorter it is, the better AI will do with it, because I think the longer the context, the more it kind of drops off. Even the transformer can't get that far. This is my view as of right now. It's who knows, things could change in a year. I think if you got into my head though right now, I would say I think AI is going to actually really take off in the physical world with what the Chinese robots and drones and so on are doing. I think that's going to be actually really phenomenal, because those tasks are conceptually simple. They're software hard. They're mechanical engineering hard. But thanks. But that's where I think we might see something really big. I think with creation, it's going to turn out to be more prompting limited than we expected. Rather than the part, production. As I put it, AI does it middle to middle, not end to end.
Yeah.
You still have to prompt and verify it.
Yeah.
So that's my thing on it. Go ahead, give me your counter argument. Yeah.
It's a great thought. We have like 30 seconds left.
Okay, good. Well, we don't have to take the whole thing, but this is awesome. So that's how to get to 10 million followers, or at least part of it. And part of what you're saying is it's very hard to even do that today. So doing what you did didn't work.
I do believe it's going to get slightly easier next year.
Why?
AI models getting better.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I see. So you've got ARB. You've got the AI.
It's really hard right now.
Okay.
Next year, it's going to get a little easier.
So right now, the opportunity is AI ARB.
Sorry?
The AI arbitrage. Meaning, right now, the opportunity is the thing that's underpriced relative to followers is AI.
Yeah,
Okay, which is not serious.
I mean, if content is the goal, as it is for so many of us, if personal brands are the goal, start writing right now. And a great practice is to just write 50 to 100 pieces of content that you really want to tell the world. Collect it in a diary and gradually keep cooking it up. Doesn't have to be a minute long, doesn't have to be a time limit. Just get 50 great ideas and begin writing today to execute on it next year.
And this is a big thing that both you and Nasir had in common, which is you set a bounded but real duration to do a bunch of reps of content before you quit.
Before you?
Before you quit.
Yes.
Right. That's actually, I think, a very important and like you don't just do one or two and it doesn't get results. You say, I'm going to budget for 50 reps or 100 reps, I'm going to do a bunch of these videos before I quit.
Yeah, the only way you improve in this game is through iterations and through agility.
The thing is, if you don't preset that number for yourself, you will get discouraged at rep 12.
Yeah.
And then you might have actually gotten good at rep 37 or something like that. But then if you haven't gotten good at rep 50, you're like, okay, that was how much effort I decided to pre-allocate towards this, right?
Exactly what it is.
Awesome.
I mean, the romantic way of putting it is that everyone should be a content creator and all that. I think everyone should be a writer right now. Everyone needs to work in the writing skills.
The mathematical way of putting it is flip the coin 50 times, that's hard work. Having it come up heads, that's luck, right? Yeah. All right, great. Good. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right.
Thank you,
great.
guys. Thank you so much.